welcome back to the Planning Pulse podcast. My name is Matt Harvison. With me, as always, is my good friend Beau Mellin. Beau, it's cold outside today. I got to be honest with you. I think it's like 15 degrees outside. So definitely don't want to go outside. What we've got for you today is hopefully going to keep you all warm there at home. We are in our workforce planning mini series. Let me talk a little bit about where we've been so far, and then we'll hit on where we're going today. So, a few episodes ago, we went into what is workforce planning, how do organizations do it, and we solved the biggest pain point that all organizations have, which is managing headcount and costs related to headcount. So, talking about the automation, talking about bringing that into a tool like Workday Adaptive Planning. Then we got into a little bit more strategic workforce planning. We moved into this crawl, walk, run conversation. So when we got into walk, it was about understanding the supply of our workforce. Again, that's coming from our first series, our first episode. Then we got into the demand of our resources and then covering that gap with a buy, build, borrow process. Our third episode was focused on the run. So, really digging into demand, understanding the demand of our workforce, looking at projects, both internal and external, getting into utilization of our resources. And then, when we're closing the gap, as Beau demonstrated for us in our second episode, as we're closing the gap, looking into performance, looking into employee net promoter scores, making sure that we've got the right people covering those gaps. If we're going to buy, build, borrow, making sure that we are filling it with the right people, right place, right time. Today's episode, I'm really excited about it. Today's episode is going to focus on one of the topics that we hear most common from our customers that are attached to Workday HCM. So if you've got Workday HCM, you're considering Workday Adaptive Planning for workforce planning, or if you have it for Workday Financial Planning. Today, we're going to be talking about the bi-directional data flow from Workday HCM into Adaptive, from Adaptive into Workday HCM. So, Beau, really excited for today's episode.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to hit on before we get straight into the demo for today?
Yeah, Matt, I just like to say it's so great to partner with a company like Workday because of the fact that they have so many great offerings. Most of our podcast is about, adaptive planning, but so many customers are on Workday HCM and Workday Financials. Today we're mostly going to be on the HCM side. But then even inside of that, there's payroll, recruiting, time tracking, job management, skills tracking, right? Expenses, it can go on and on and on. People analytics, right? And what's great about that is we want all of our customers to leverage that to its fullest extent and then integrate that data and leverage all of that data into Adaptive to give you the most informed forecast. So many of our customers have a million different source systems, right? They've got data and, they have one ERP, one HR system, one recruiting system, one CRM, one POS system, right? It's so great when we get to work with customers that are all under the Workday umbrella because you and me as adaptive nerds, we can very easily integrate all that data into adaptive and just make our life so much better when we want to go and forecast. So I think being able to leverage all that data with the synchronization between the platforms, because it really is all one connected platform, is just something that's we're seeing so many of our customers really, really gain a lot of value out of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you're going to dig into the demo here, and you talked a little bit about synchronization. So maybe I'll
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that while you pull up the demonstration, because I know that's a big topic for all of our users in Workday. Is when I start to leverage the power of Workday HCM into Workday Adaptive Planning, what type of manual maintenance or administrative effort's going to go into that? So when you talk about synchronization, we talk about synchronizing both dimensions, metadata as work tags. So I know we're going to dig into that today, but I see you've got your screen up, so I'll let you go ahead and get started.
Yeah, 100%. So right now we're sitting inside a Workday, right? We talked about it. If I come on up to my menu, there's so many great options here around learning, payroll, supporting people, recruiting, adaptive planning that we all know and love. Team and organization management, compensation, tracking, time and PTO, career journeys, right? So many great things. And what's nice about this, I'm sounding like a broken record here, but it's all connected in the fact that I can just come on down to my shortcuts and all right, where do we want to go? Well, today we want to go into adaptive planning. And so logging into one place, all under one secure security protocol, I can come on in and directly from logging into one platform where I can navigate and access anything that is going to help the entire enterprise, I can quickly go on in and jump on into my workforce planning environment that user synchronization piece right out of the gate is key, Matt. I know Matt, you talked about you know, automation of data as well. So maybe we can jump on in and keep talking about that here. So
Yeah, while that's loading, I know you mentioned, synchronization. We're talking about synchronization. Notice how you went directly from HCM into adaptive. You didn't have to then log in and continue to log in and put in your password. It's leveraging, like you said, user synchronization across platforms. You're able to go from HCM into adaptive. And what that means is we're just managing security, managing permissions all in one place and letting it flow to and through adaptive.
100%. And so to kind of hammer that point home, right? When we talk to people a lot of the times about integration and connecting data, a lot of discussions around mapping comes up. And well, what if we have a new value inside of our HRIS system that's not sitting inside of adaptive yet? Or for you finance folks, maybe we have a new cost center or GL account that's not adaptive yet, right? The beauty of connecting HCM or financials into adaptive is that we bring in the metadata automation. So anytime in your core HRIS, you have a new position ID or you have a new requisition ID get made, or maybe Kelly Crawford changes job profiles or she changes from Chicago to Shanghai, you're not having to go in and update that in the fact that you don't have to make the update, but also the metadata part of it is as that value gets made in our HRIS, it's automatically getting made inside of adaptive. So, it takes away that entire duplicative, laborious process of adding in new values and then go updating your integration from a mapping perspective because the metadata synchronization between the two platforms is automatically doing that for you right now. So as Kelly gets made in Workday HCM, that value as a dimension automatically gets made inside of Workday Adaptive Planning, and it's going to map for you. You don't have to go about making that new value for yourself.
Absolutely. And it's really the headcount reconciliation process too, because a lot
Yep.
of organizations, like we talked about, we download our file out to Excel. It's static from the moment that we get there. What we're doing inside of Adaptive, this is the personnel sheet we talked about in episode 1, bringing data in. But because we're leveraging those underlying values from a tool like Workday HCM, we're automating all of the work tag creation and changes that actually occur on your workforce. Absolutely.
Yep. And to kind of continue on the fact that we are in one platform, right? I'm clicked on Kelly here, position 514, senior recruiter, sent out of our Chicago office, right? Well, maybe I want to get a little bit more understanding on what Kelly does here and maybe some important information on her. I can right click on Kelly and go in and drill into details here. And when I go ahead and drill into details, this is going to go ahead and take me, Matt, back directly to Kelly's worker profile inside of Workday HCM. So the drill through between source systems is something so many people ask for, right? Like I want to drill back to my data warehouse, or I want to drill back to my general ledger system. I want to drill back to my HRES. Well, being all under the Workday umbrella, there's drill through functionality where I'm an adaptive. Okay, now I'm back in Workday HCM, and now I'm looking at her job profile, and I can go see what team is Kelly on. Maybe want to go click on that, and this takes me to the larger org chart inside of the organization. In a couple clicks, I can have access to a wealth of a lot of data of, okay, Kelly sits on Jacqueline's team. Who does Jacqueline roll up to, right? You can go and kind of follow the entire org chart process. And it's also really nice, Matt, when you go ahead and make a new position in adaptive. And then what we're going to get into in a minute is publishing that back. So the entire bi-directional flow of I can drill on into somebody, I can click on into them. And Matt, that's for an existing person. But, a lot of times, being a planning podcast, we're thinking about stuff that's coming into the future. What's coming in the future? Requisitions. And so people that we're planning to hire and open positions. So I can come on up to a requisition ID as well and drill on into details here. And my screen's going to look a little bit different than looking at the active worker profile. Now we're actually looking at the open requisition inside of Workday Recruiting for the senior recruiter, who's the hiring manager for that requisition. What's our candidate pipeline look like? Okay, we have 2 candidates right now. One sitting in the review stage. One we've actually given that offer out to, right? So we can click on into that, go on in and look at the candidates. What's their average time in this role? Right here, the 2 people applying for that So, depending on what permissions you're giving your people that they should have access to in adaptive, right? When we think about workforce planning, we talked about who's doing this process. A lot of time it's the recruiting team and it's the HRIS team. And so they want to be able to do their planning and their forecasting and their budgeting for that team inside of adaptive, but they're also working inside of Workday HCM a lot. And just to drill into details and go directly back into Workday HCM is something that gives those people really, Matt, a lot of agility and flexibility. They're not having to log into 20 million different places when they go about their day.
100%. So we're bringing the information in. You can drill into the details like we showed in the first episode. You can drill into the calculations, but this is that drill to or drill through
Yeah.
back into the source system by having Workday HCM, Workday recruiting, like Beau is showing, really easy for you to get access into the actual record of employment.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a kind of good segue as well into our next piece here of a lot of our listeners, right? They know adaptive pretty well, and they might be looking up here at the top little part of my cursor that I'm circling and seeing this little arrow, and they're going, I have never seen that before. I do not have access to that in my model. Well, that's either if you're today leveraging a Workday platform and it's not completely integrated, or if you're leveraging a different ERP or a different HRIS system, right? Our Workday connected customers have access to what we call published plan. So published plan allows us to go ahead and plan for a new employee or an open requisition inside of our adaptive model. And then we can go ahead and actually publish that back into core Workday. So Matt, I'm over here and I'm just grabbing some data on another screen and I'm going to go ahead and paste it in here. And then we can go ahead and take this data, bring it on in to our adaptive model, and then, go ahead and save that new change down and
Yeah.
publish it back.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's important to know kind of what you're doing right now when you're bringing data in. We've addressed that in episode 2 and 3 with the walk and the run, the build, buy, the buy, build, borrow scenario. We've understand the utilization of our team, the capacity of our team, and really what we're doing now is we've identified the need. How do we get that information in? Like you went in and you hit plus, plus row or add a row. You could as easily copied a row, or you could have gone in and you could have
yep.
done an Excel flat file import for all of these. It really depends on how many different records, you're bringing in. I will typically say, hey, let's do an import if we're doing 10 or more. In your case, you're just doing one, hitting the add row, and then you could either type in, you could copy and paste similar like you did, is the way to go there.
100%. So I went in and I added in a new employee or a new rec, sorry. And so we're going to go ahead and go take a look at that new requisition here. And so when I go ahead and filter down for that new employee, or that new rec, sorry, I can go ahead and save my change, and you will go ahead and see that that this arrow is now actionable. That I can now click on this, and when I select this, Matt, this brings up the publishing feature. So in this example, inside of adaptive, there's 3 publishing things. There's headcount actions, there's workforce actions, which is what we're going to talk about today, which is create position or create job requisition. Today we're going to create a job requisition, and then for a future episode down the road for our Workday Financials customers, there's also published financial actions. And so a lot of added synergy, Matt, when we connect the platforms here. So we're going to go ahead and create that job requisition now, and we're going to go ahead and click publish here. And now we're going to go ahead and view that publish history. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and we can see this is taking us to our published plan stage of adaptive, right? And we can see, all right, we went ahead and we published this worker. Successful worker, 1 row is received. Let's go ahead and view that publish. So when I go ahead and go here, I can pull that up now, Matt.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too, as you're going in and you're viewing your publish, this is a one-off example of we're going to hire one person this time. There's a lot of scenarios where somebody may hire 5, 10, 15, and how you went and filtered. And, of course, for the Planning Pulse podcast, that's how we filtered it today. But you could also filter based on, expected start date as well. So if you wanted to go in and open these job requisitions for everyone that you want to start, in Q1 or Q2, you could open them strategically throughout the course of the year. It's not, oh, we've got to do this every
Yeah.
time we want to add one worker. Just wanted to call that out.
No, it's a good point for sure. Definitely. And so now we publish that. And what's really cool is that we can see right now we're sitting inside of Logan McNeil. This individual inside of our business process, inside of Core Workday, got hit with a notification that there's a new job requisition, right? I can see there's that requisition for the planning pulse that we made. This was the job that we want to hire for this person. These are all the functions of it, right? A lot of good stuff that comes in here. So I can go ahead and submit this. This looks good. Who's up next? Rachel Knight. She's actually the official hiring manager for this new rec that we want to plan. So for today's demo purposes, we're going to go ahead and proxy in as Rachel Knight and keep following the breadcrumbs there, Matt.
Yeah, yeah. And while you're doing that, maybe I'll say that this is going to be really depends upon your organization's business processes as well. You know, the chain of approvals, the manner in which you set up your Workday business process is going to determine what this pathway looks like for you. So in our demo environment, it goes from Logan, it goes to Rachel. Yours may be a one-step sort of pathway. It may have multiple pathways. So your business process is what we are actually interacting with from
Yep.
Workday Adaptive Planning. What we're doing is we're recreating that initiate step on that either create position or create job requisition business process.
100%. And so now I'm sitting in as Rachel Knight. I went in and now she has a notification in her inbox, right? This is the business process that's set up here. And she goes, all right, this looks good. We're going to go ahead and approve this. And so now, we can go on next to the HR partner, things like that, right? And then at the end of the day, after it gets fully approved, Matt, that's going to flow all the way back on into HCM, right? And so what's super nice about this is we get to do our process here as Rachel Knight and then bring it on back into our personnel model. And then we can go ahead and our requisition ID would go ahead and flow on in. Our position ID would go ahead and flow on in. All of that would happen straight from that integration.
Yeah.
Adaptive and HCM there. So that
Yeah.
published really nice.
And I know you said integration there too. So when you think about integration, you think about bringing all of that data back in from Workday HCM, kind of like we talked about, it's automated. It's going to be based on a schedule of your choosing, whether you want that to be once a week, once a month, once a day, every hour, whatever you want it to be. We at Active Cyber are going to give you recommendations for best practices, what we see organizations do. And then we also want to be mindful of what process we're trying to complete. Is this your annual operating budget? Is this a monthly reforecast? Is this workforce planning, traditional workforce planning like we're talking about today? So depending upon what you're trying to accomplish, we can help steer the ship in terms of the frequency in which we would typically see that integration be set up.
100%. 100%. No, I know we can spend all day demoing that type of stuff too, Matt, but this is kind of the first pass at showing you guys that publishing option because there are a lot of customers that we interact with that have adaptive and have HCM, but they're not aware of publish actions, of actually creating a position or a rec inside of adaptive and sending it back to core HCM. It's something that we're still seeing a lot of people adopt and get used to, but find a lot of value when they go about their planning process.
Yeah, I would completely agree that the bidirectional flow of information between Workday and between Adaptive is something that not everybody's taking advantage of. It certainly could help to synchronize and automate a lot of your processes that you've got today, a lot of them that are manual processes, right? Kicking it out to spreadsheets, or maybe we bring it into Adaptive, but we don't have that push back in. So there's a lot of optimization that we can get from creating that bidirectional feed between both your systems that you've got today. Beau, any last thoughts before we turn our sights towards the next episode in this mini series?
No, Matt. I think that was a good one. I'm really enjoying these series, kind of flow that we're doing. So if anybody out there says, I would love a series on XYZ, right? Like, please let me and Matt know. And we are always down to talk about whatever inside of Adaptive. So no, but yeah, I thought that was kind of a good workforce planning series. And if you guys go watch all those episodes, right, we would love to chat with you and help you build some of that stuff out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important that what we're doing here on the Planning Pulse is just to set a foundation for you. If you have questions, continued feedback, want to get a little bit more personalized demonstration, Beau and I are always happy to hop on with anybody at any time to go through that. So in terms of workforce planning, the sky's the limit, really, but we want to make sure that you get started. We want to make sure that you're starting to realize the value of a tool like Workday Adaptive Planning, automating a lot of your processes, removing the pain points that exist inside of something like a spreadsheet or a Google Sheet. We want to make sure that you're getting the best use out of Workday HCM whenever combined with Workday Adaptive Planning. But if you're just Workday Adaptive Planning standalone, you don't have Workday HCM, we can still help you with your workforce planning process. So don't hesitate to reach out. We are going to be putting together our next mini series soon. So you will hear from us over the next few weeks. You can plan on it.